In my opinion, folks, my best guess would be the next thing they'll pull off is something to do with the weather. I go on YouTube and all I see now are MSM posts about weather catastrophes. There's snow in the southern states. You'd have to be Canadian all your life to know how unimpressed we are with a snowstorm. We just got a foot of it the other night. So what? News about snowstorms don't spark fear into the heart of a Canadian, we're so used to them it's boring. This fear porn is sneaking its way onto YouTube, so I'm diligent about disregarding the channels, not even the videos, so I won't see any MSM videos again. It's all fear porn and propaganda. I'm seeing Texas is having a huge storm and their electricity is off. I'm sure this is some kind of attack, but hey, you know I'm a conspiracy theorist. Actually, I don't really believe that anything happens for nothing around this place. There's always a reason. Making sacrifices. This is one example of how holding this belief in the ego keeps your vibration down. Because of the negative way we reframe concepts that are positive. This has to do with the way that the selfish ego interprets acts of unselfishness. To the extent that you believe that people make sacrifices, you're ego-based and believing the tenets of this reptilian/draconian lower frequency system. And believe me, we all have. No fault on your part, so don't get down on yourself for it. Just begin to change the way you see it. Making sacrifices is not a true concept. All has to do with enhancing the soul. There are no sacrifices. Nobody has to go without so that someone else gets. There is no lack when you use universal law. When you look at our system, there is lack, but that lack is created. There is plenty to go around, there is no lack. God wouldn't put us here and say, okay, but I forgot to give you enough to keep you alive. The DS would, and its starvation of certain countries and peoples has to do with its agenda of oppression. What about when someone makes the ultimate sacrifice and dies so another can live? How often do you hear that happening? What about soldiers at war? Ivo, my love, they say that Jesus died for your sins. Jesus was capable of creation to the extent that he created another body for himself and returned to earth. He did this to show you the capabilities of a human connected to the God source. He was an example. He did not die for your sins because no one is a sinner, with the exception of those who are oppressing and killing the humans on earth. They are the evil sinners. But yet again, they are teaching you that you are evil and unworthy while they are the good ones. The DS and the dark ones have had an agenda of projection. They project all that is unworthy about themselves onto others, while they deem themselves to be above all of you. Me, yes, my mother taught me that. She thought she was the ultimate human, but was so in denial of any of her flaws and projected them all onto her kids. And yes, we've learned to be like the Draconians. It was infuriating for me to watch a person so in denial of her faults that she saw herself as perfect and above all the unworthy people she had spawned. Really? This egotism I see in the DS as well as their belief of entitlement because of their perfection. My family was a microcosm of the macrocosm of this planet and its collective beliefs which have been imposed upon us. Ivo, these inequities God would never stand for. Me, I know. Ivo, there are no privileged and underprivileged ones. There are no worthy and no unworthy ones. There are no saints and there are no sinners. It is all a question of the development of the soul and how far advanced the soul is. That is all. The draconian system was imposed upon you in order to leave you blind to the truth of the human reality, and that was so they could control you. Those who feel they are superior to others have the ego of a draconian because they are of this belief as well. That is why draconians practice a caste system, and why they have created one for you as well. Their prejudice against the earthling has had ramifications all the way to the God source, so now they are being dealt with. Because they believe you to be so worthless, they believe they can do anything to you. Those cultures upon your planet that still worship animals are remnants of the old human belief system. These cultures value their animals and give thanks to them for sustaining their bodies. The societies that are overwhelmed by draconian values do not value the animals they eat, hence they do anything they like to the animals in order to sell them as meat, and so you have a devalued animal that you are ingesting, an animal raised in a devalued system based on selling from one unworthy person to other unworthy people. It stands to reason that in these societies, it is best not to eat flesh. I remember when I was in Holland. Apparently they eat horse meat there. I asked my aunt, then had to insist that she cook it to well done so there wasn't any visible blood, but then I couldn't chew it because it was so tough. It makes me laugh now because the Dutch word for no is nee, so when it comes to eating horse meat in Holland, I just say nee, nee. Ivo, yes. You have had many misgivings about eating meat all your life, my love. That is because you should not eat it. Vegans do not eat meat, and the fact that the word for our constellation is the same as a non-meat eater I believe is no coincidence. However, your family believed that the good life was to be had in a steak. You often would go without or refuse a piece, but the tendency to eat meat was practiced even more so in Holland than by your parents. This is because of the more recent events of the Great Depression and World War II, where many people starved to death. Food became more revered than anything and well-to-doness was shown in what one ate. Of course, this was taken advantage of from the 1960s on as food became more processed, chemicalized, and genetically modified. The focus was on having as much to eat as you wanted. It is all caused by the DS and taken advantage of as well. They are using food to poison you now. You must become aware of the tokens your people utilize to indicate they are living the good life. This is all found in materialism. They have steaks, drink alcohol, they own boats and big homes, they drive expensive cars. This is all a show. The good life is lived in the mind first. There are still many cultures upon earth that live primitively but lovingly. You could take an example from them. But I digress. Sacrifice is a belief in lack. When there is no lack, sacrifices cannot be made. When it comes to sacrificing one's life, life is eternal. There are many mediums working overtime to prove to you all that life continues after death. So what they sacrificed was a physical body. Ivo, and if they had the power, they could recreate another physical body to come back and finish that life if they wanted. It has to do with how much power one holds, and what the soul's plans for the body are. If the soul is finished with that incarnation, no body will reincarnate. You see, my love, your words are so limiting. I said no body will reincarnate. Nobody. Anybody. Somebody. You are not a body. But your language tells you so. Perhaps saying no soul, any soul, some soul, all souls, would be more appropriate speech, but you all have yet to see it from the higher perspective and that is something that must be taught to you. And your language is very limiting. It limits your minds. Yes, good catch, Ivo. Ivo, I do these occasionally. LOL. Ivo, as for sacrifice, when one has an abundant frame of mind, there can be no sacrifice. Life is abundant, life is loving. There are no sacrifices. All live for the greater good of others and they understand this. There is no selfishness in the higher dimensions. It is not necessary. Selfishness is born of lack. There is so much we have discussed already about the lack mentality and how the concept of scarcity affects your lives. This is one more problem it creates. When your societies are based upon fear-based ideas, then the citizens will only suffer. When you are relieved of your financial woes as a planet, when poverty is eliminated and abundance is supplied to all, when all that was stolen from you is repaid to you, you will begin to see how your world had provided for your needs and that there never was any need to worry about your physical maintenance. So many problems will instantaneously disappear for so many when the money is redistributed with love for all included. People will change overnight. This manufactured system is soon to be dispensed with. You will all see the truth of God's creation for you. And that is abundance, fearless abundance. Me, thank you Ivo. Ivo, my love, we will be together soon. I promise you this.